Hey, this is Bronte, and I'm your promo and events coordinator. And we're here with our alumni spotlight today. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Mikayla. My DJ name was Macaroni.
Cool. And then, what was your show called for those who don't know?
My show was called Macaroni and Cheese. It was every Wednesday at 12 p.m. And I want to say I moved over to Tuesdays around 5, later half in my KSSU career.
And then, with your show, how would you describe it for those who haven't heard about it?
I've always called it a variety hour in the sense that, in the sense that I would have different guests on every day, every time I would go on. The show was called Macaroni and Cheese, so I was macaroni and my cheese were, the viewer, my guests that were coming in rather. Let's see what else. And every time I would have a different theme going on for each week. So, sometimes I would have, we're going to listen to music of a specific genre. So I remember I had one episode where I did like Motown. So just all the songs that day were just different Motown hits. I know I had one show called Parody, so I played like Minecraft parodies and like parody, like Weird Al, things like that. But just different variety hour, yeah. Because sometimes there'd be days where I would talk with the guests, and there would sometimes be days where I was just playing music and just listening to a specific genre, and that was like the theme for that week.
Yeah. And what was one like specific episode theme that like was one of your favorites that you did?
I have a few that I really enjoyed. There was one time where the theme was called karaoke. So I had went home previously and I recorded like these really poorly done covers of songs, So for example, I did Boys to Men, I'll Make Love to You, but it was me singing it. And so I would record the main voice and then I would do the backup singer. I'm cracking up just thinking about it, but I would do the backup singers and then overlay it all into an audio file. And then when I'm in studio, I would just had it already connected to aux and was just playing it, but it was just purposely bad. I was trying my hardest in the sense that I want the backup voice singers to be there, and I'm trying to hit the high notes, but it's just all poorly done. So, but that was a fun time because I remember people really trying to say, "Oh, that was you have a great singing voice." Like, no, it was purposely supposed to be just silly and goofy. But yeah, that was a good episode.
That sounds really fun. And then you also mentioned having like friends and family on the show.
Yes.
Like what was that like and what did you kind of do?
I would have friends on and we would talk mostly. If I had friends on, it would because we would be talking about a certain topic. So I know I had a lot of friends and we would watch anime and manga. So there would be certain weeks where we would discuss a certain series or topic, and that was like the theme for that week. So I know one time I have a friend who's really into tokusatsu, and tokusatsu is, for those who don't know, it's like special effects shows. So think of shows like Kamen Rider, Ultraman, or Power Rangers, but in Japan it's called Super Sentai. But Power Rangers is what adopted from Super Sentai. So we had a whole episode where we were just talking about our favorite Sentai shows, the theme songs. I was playing the theme songs for each one, and it was my friend Brian who was in the studio that day, and we were just discussing, that time. Let's see. I know one time I had my dad in studio, but I didn't want to just introduce him as my dad, so I called him the guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm the guy." So we were just sitting there, just discussing like how school was. But I think that episode I did. Let's see. I'm trying to remember the theme I had for that day. I want to say I also was playing some type of soul music, maybe, but I think I had him pick the songs at that time. Yeah,
That's cool. I remember I like haven't really read much manga, but when I read one for the first time, I was really confused about the pages. I
Oh
was like,
yes,
what? I was like,
yeah.
what's happening here?
Yeah, one thing that's really funny is I'll go on Amazon reviews for certain manga, and there'll be comments like people will leave a review saying this book was backwards and don't buy this. And I'm like,
I'm
that's
like,
the point. Yeah,
that's how it is
yeah.
for all of them. But yeah. And then you mentioned that you were live streaming or like outside of this. Like, what? Explain to us what you were up to.
So what I would do is I would have Instagram Live back when it was a feature, because now I guess you have to have a certain subscriber like follower limit, which is really unfortunate. But what I would do is, I would be on air and then I would Instagram live stream what I was doing behind the scenes, and I would have people come in and pop in, ask questions, and then I would either talk to them while I was off air while the music was playing, or I would then go on air and be like, "Oh, I have a listener here, or a viewer here, and you can listen at KSSU Macaroni on Instagram." That had a great question. Let's answer this. So we would do that. There was a few times where I would be playing some great music and I would love to jam out, but I would sometimes get copyright striked by
Oh,
whoever it was
yeah.
listening to music. So there'd be times where I'd be streaming on Instagram, live streaming, and I would get a notification being like, "You got copyright strike by Warner," or whatever. I'm like, "Oh, darn it." But there's one time, I think I had like, in one episode, the most times I got taken down was 3 or 4 times just because of the music.
Oh, yeah.
So there'd be times where I would have the in-house Sparky or super quiet, the in-house speaker rather, but I would have it super quiet just so I wouldn't get copyright strike.
Yeah. That's the whole thing, especially because we're also like DJing and like posting our mixes and things like that.
Yeah.
So like copyright issues are always a thing, but I think with streaming they're working on that, or they have some
Oh,
sort
that's
of
good.
system. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a struggle.
I remember one time when I was in here, it was for, let's see, I want to say it was National College Radio Day, or one of those days. It's, and is that October or is it in the spring? I can't remember. Is it March or so?
I
February?
don't remember. I think we did it last year or something like that.
I can't remember which day it was, but I remember that day I came in and I was on a Friday, so it was super weird to have macaroni on a Friday. But I came in, did like a 10 a.m. show, but I remember I was live streaming, and that day I was going to play top hits from 1985. I want to say like Billboard Top 100 because I was like, oh, it's college radio day. Here's Billboard hits of I think 84, 85, one of those years, but. MJ, super popular during this time, and I'm out here doing dance moves from Michael Jackson, The Experience, like the Wii game. So I had went on YouTube and looked up the dance moves. So on Instagram, while the songs were playing on air, while I was off air, I had Instagram live streaming me doing the Michael Jackson, The Experience dances. Funny. I was doing it in studio, and I remember people walking by like, "What's going on in here? Like, what are you doing?" And I would be like, doing the dances from Michael Jackson, The Experience.
Oh my god, that's really funny. And it's like, everyone sees what's going on in here, and it's like I don't know, it's a whole experience.
Yeah, there's been a few times where I've had people walk by just waving,
yeah, people wave.
Yeah, some people wave, and I'll see some people doing the thumbs up because they'll hear what I'm playing, and they're like, yeah, that's good stuff, One time, my dad's friend actually walked by, him and his wife were walking by, and they seen me, and they were all freaking out, like, going crazy and taking pictures, and I was like, oh yeah, we got live listeners here who are taking pictures with us. And I remember on air, I was trying not to get stumbled up. I go, yeah, well, we're taking selfies right now, and hold on, let me just take this real quick. All right, yeah, we're great.
Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, that's how it is, but it's nice to have that support with your show. And then with KSSU and your overall college experience, how do you think KSSU affected your college experience?
It was great. It was fantastic. I know I want to say I transferred to Sac State in spring of 2022, and I joined in 2023, spring of 2023. I joined in 23. When I was a graduate student, I started in fall of 24, and I want to say I was still there for a semester, but graduate, we get really busy, and then of course there's work, and there's just not enough time in my schedule to keep doing what I was doing, but I love doing what I was doing here. It was great to just come in every week, have a guest, talk about what it is I want to talk about, or play what it is I want to talk about, or, I know one time, one of my last few episodes as a graduate student, I remember I was doing my homework. It was on air, and I was like, hey, I have to read the Communist Manifesto for my history and theory class, so we're going to just read it. And I remember I was reading it on air, but it was more just, here's what they're saying. I just have to read this for my class. I'm not going to interpret anything. I'm not doing analysis on air or showing what my views are. I was just like, I'm just going to read this because that's what my homework is. Yeah, so I think I had someone in my Instagram chat talking about it and was trying to start a conversation. I'm like, I'm just trying to to read
To do
this.
your
Yeah.
homework.
But I think also too what I was ended up doing was I was playing Oingo Boingo because some Oingo Boingo songs had a commentary on what was being talked about in the Communist Manifesto. So I did that overlay of okay, well we're gonna go and play some Oingo Boingo, and I'd skip to that, and I'm like I'm still trying to read this before class. My class starts in like 30 minutes.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
but it was great. I know. Excuse me. Sorry. I know when I started, I was very much just telling people, "Oh, think about joining KSSU, or think about listening just off to the side." It's a great, I would say, resource that we have just for students to go out there and express themselves. But also too, with on my end, last year I work. I do this thing called Clio. It's a history journal. It's a student-run history journal at Sac State here, and last year I had asked, I said, hey, I know you guys have campus PSAs that you have to play. Would it be fine that if we got a campus PSA recorded for Clio? So that way we also put the commercials in the book. We had QR codes being like, hey, listen to KSSU here, but also here's what we recorded in studio, but also as a way for campus to know more about Clio because, you're supposed to play, what is it, one campus PSA every
Yeah.
hour. So they're like, oh, well, here's this really fun superhero related commercial that students, DJs can play during commercial break. So it was a great opportunity to say, oh, hey, I have experience being behind the microphone. We can record a commercial just for our sake, but then also for KSSU's sake. So it was a nice tie in between the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a lot of experience with KSSU, and it's just like a really great place to express yourself, especially if you have a lot to say and like a lot of different things you want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you also mentioned you played a lot of like that 70s, 80s funk, R&B. Like what draws you to that music, and like what are some of your favorites?
My parents, I would say, were the ones to influence my music style and the music that interests me. I know when was it Lil Yachty came to
Yeah.
campus last year. I remember I was just there, and I had went with a few friends, and we were there on the field watching it. And I ran into Hector. Actually, he was there in the crowd, and he goes,
Yes.
"Oh, what are you doing here?" I was like, "I actually don't know any of this guy's music. I'm just here for the vibes." And I heard someone behind me goes, "You don't even know why are you even here?" But I'm sitting here going, "Well, I'm just here to have fun, but also I don't listen to that modern music really. I think I told people the most recent I'll go is 2010, but I've been making strides just to broaden my horizon and just listen more. But when you are growing up listening to a certain kind of music that becomes just more nostalgic to you and just natural to where you always want to listen to it and you always want to tell people, hey, you should listen to Rick James, that's like an example.
Yeah.
Oh, you should listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. But I just grew up listening to that. So for me, it's just quite natural. And then once you have that avenue with KSSU to just play whatever you want, it's free format. I'm sitting here going, oh, I could theoretically just play Earth, Wind, and Fire all the time if I wanted to. And of course, my favorite would be Earth, Wind, and Fire. One of my favorite artists, groups, I'd say. That is my favorite. Yeah. But really influenced by my parents. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is. I think like a good go-to for like DJing campus events is Earth, Wind, and Fire for me.
Yeah. It's a good
So
go to.
yeah, it's a good go-to. Like everyone knows. Cool. And then you mentioned like working with like the history department, or you're working with teaching, but tell us about what you're doing currently.
So currently, I'm a graduate student. I'm in my second year. I should be theoretically and hopefully done by the end of this year in the fall. And when you are a history graduate student, your culminating experience is either you have the option of to write a thesis or to take the exams. The exams are the more popular route. The thesis, you can write a thesis if it's for a specific class you have to get an A in, and that's like a research and writing class. If you get an A, then you are given the go ahead to write a thesis. But the popular option is to just write, or not write, sorry, you have to read these books. So it's 40 to 50 books that you're reading within a semester. And so a lot of people that are doing it right now, I'm sitting here going, I don't think I can read 40 to 50 books in 16 weeks. I need that summer, additional summer to just read a book every week. And I feel like that's the better option for me. So that's the route I'm taking. But, during the day I'm here, Monday to Thursday, involved with Clio again, so that's a whole nother process of creating a journal, getting editors involved, special features. That's a thing that we do where we're involving campus life. So it's just a whole thing where, we want to get first prize this year. Last year we got third, and it's nice to say that you're part of an award-winning journal, but you want to get first place. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is just that pride and feeling that I know for sure that I want to make this year's edition, or want to help make this year's edition the best that it can be and make it first place. But during the day, if I'm not busy with schoolwork, I'm also a substitute teacher for San Juan Unified. So I also go to the high schools in the area. I've done middle school once or twice, but they're a little too crazy for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
they say a lot of 6-7 jokes and whatnot. And
Yeah,
they
it's,
say a lot
it's
of
bad.
a lot of potty humor sometimes. But the high schoolers they're fun. I was long term subbing back in October or in November at Rio Americano. That was a great experience because I'm in the classroom and I was involved with trying to help create lesson plans and teaching these kids about social science. That's what I'm going to school for. So there's just this nice connect, saying, "Oh, what are you guys learning? Oh, okay, maybe I could help out." But yeah, substitute teacher by day if I can. But mostly I'm here on campus, just having to go to class and study and read and write book reviews and whatnot. So it's just this whole process, a busy process. But next semester should be just all all steam ahead.
Yeah.
Just can't stop, grind don't stop. Just having to read those books. Yeah,
Yeah, get through it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And do you feel like at your time at KSSU, like did any of those skills you feel carry over to your academics or like your teaching or any of that?
I would say so. There is a class at El Camino High School. The teacher is Mr. Sumter. El Camino has a radio station on campus. I didn't know this until I came in and subbed for them one day. And I walk in, and they have an actual booth inside of the classroom. And so I was like immediately telling the kids, like, show me around. I'm so curious, And their soundboard is nothing like ours. It's very like very, very old. It was like this beige machine with a couple sliders, and then even it had dials.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like a speedometer like dial, like one of those. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then I was asking, like, how do you play music? They're like, oh, we have a set list of music that's approved. Because I guess someone tried to play some rap that was uncensored and they had it played on air. And then, of course, they get in trouble with FCC. So they were like, oh, we have approved the list of songs that they can play. But it was great. These kids have great music taste, and they come in and they'll just sit in the studio and just record. And also, too, they do the morning announcements. So it's the DJs in-house saying, hey, here's your morning announcements. Lunch is this, and there's like a volleyball game. Make sure you go to that. And then there's some event for seniors, So it was something like that just every day. But it was great. I remember just going in going, wow, I used to do this. So it was great because I would have the kids just show me around, like, oh, they showed me their makeshift soundproof room where they can go and record certain things if they had to. So it was just this really small closet essentially with soundproofing. But there was also a camera inside because they're like, yeah, kids used to do like things that they weren't supposed to in there. So now they have to keep us on watch. I'm like, yeah, but this is cool that they just have that, and set lists. And I think it's also cool there's a subwoofer already connected to the class so you can actually listen and hear what they're playing. And the one time, the kids in the classroom who were like, it was like intro to media arts, I want to say, class, but they were just doing notes or on the computers just working on something. And all of a sudden I hear dead air. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I walk in, I'm like, hey, I think you guys have dead air because I'm not hearing anything on the radio. And they're like, oh, shoot, that's not good. And so they look and they're like, oh, can you still hear us? I'm like, yeah, no, I had to like help them out with that. So that was cool. But yeah.
Yeah, and that teaches them a lot of valuable skills that they can carry with them. And it's cool that they're doing that so young.
Yeah, that was great. I didn't even know that was a thing or a class. Even in just the Sacramento area, I thought that was just cool that they have that sort of resource that allows them to pursue that as a career. I didn't realize that that was an option. That's really cool. Another thing I wanted to mention was recently, last month, we had a symposium for history. It was the Shattuck Colonial America Symposium. And for that one, I was requested by a professor in history, Dr. Tony Bly. He asked me if I could record a podcast that they were having, an interview with his prize. His prize is called the Anansi Prize winners. They research runaway slaves and then they write papers about it. And if he likes it, he wants to bolster their writing more. So he gives them a little prize and then has their journals and their papers published. And then also too on our end of Clio, we'll publish those winners in Clio so that way people can read them. So we had interviewed 3 of the winners from last year. So that was great because I'm sitting here going, oh, I can take this file home. I know how it is to record or edit files, so I was able to edit out certain areas. There's a lot of people smacking their lips sometimes, so I was like, okay, we gotta get rid of that.
You have to do that.
Yeah, there was also a few times where things were really loud, so I'm just sitting here like, okay, let's make this quieter. Let's do a fade into music here, out and there. So it was nice because I had that experience, and I know they were really grateful to have someone who knew how to do that. So it was great because I'm like, oh, I have experience.
Yeah, it's super valuable. And then like, recording all the PSAs, you're like clipping and like I know a lot of our staff have to take out every single little like mouse sound and they're like, oh my gosh, and it gets tedious. But it's very valuable to be able to do that. Cool. And then my last question, as we're celebrating the 35th anniversary, which is why we're doing this whole series, do you have any advice for current KSSU DJ students?
Keep having fun, I'd say. I would say, I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but Case Keenum, or Casey Kasem rather, I don't know why I said Case Keenum, that's a football player. Casey Kasem would say, I'm Casey Kasem, and reach out for the stars or something like that. I cannot remember the quote for right now, but, he's a popular radio DJ back in the 80s, but he would always say, keep reaching for the stars. And I always liked that, but it's the same thing. Just, keep doing what you're doing, have fun, most importantly, but maybe don't be afraid to push boundaries, maybe. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, like just, have fun. Keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, I would say just keep having fun. Yeah, I think that's
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and letting me interview you. Yeah,
of course. Thank you for having me. It was great. It's nice being in the studio again. I remember I walked in, I was like, oh, and I see the new soundboard on that side.
Yeah, the Rodecaster.
Yeah, I was like, that's new, because I'm also in the KSSU Discord, so I see updates. That's what's going on. I'm like, oh, this is new. I haven't seen this before.
That's cool. You're in there.
Yeah, I'm still there. I was like, okay, I'll be here and just see what's going on, events and everything. But it's just nice that that community is still fostered. I was back when we were on Slack originally, and then we moved to, to Discord. Yeah, so that was the whole thing.
Slack is like corporate.
Yeah,
very corporate.
Yeah, we used to be on Slack. It was like KSSU Slack.
Yeah,
been through like 2 or 3 station managers during my time with KSSU, so it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome.
Yeah.